One of the ones that we've encountered most, oddly enough, we call it the alligator system. The physical body there, it resembles very much an alligator, but it has an intelligence equal or superior to ours.
But they look like alligators.
They look like alligators.
So what you just heard was a man by the name of Robert Monroe describing the different type of entities he's come across during out-of-body experiences. Robert Monroe was a man who invented a technology known as hemisync. These are tones which are played through headphones which influence the listener into phasing their consciousness to have an out-of-body experience. In 1978, someone from the United States intelligence agencies contacted Robert Monroe. He then began helping out the CIA and the US military. They conducted experiments using his technology and other developed technology which sent subjects into the other dimensions of the universe to report back on what they found. In 2017, the papers were declassified on the CIA website. In this video, we will take a look into the papers and some of the scariest parts within them. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Robert Monroe was a pioneer in the exploration of consciousness. At the age of 43 in 1958, Robert started feeling an inner vibration in his chest. To soothe the vibration, he would need to lay down. This vibration would occur a few times a week. After lying down, Monroe would begin to have an out-of-body experience. The first time this occurred, it frightened him as he believed he was going through the dying process, so quickly made re-entry into his body. After this occurred, he grew worried, so made visits to several different doctors and psychiatrists. He got the all clear from every doctor he visited. After this, he figured that the experiences were not going to kill him as he arrived back in his body each time. This made him grow curious. He then changed his path in life and began dedicated to exploring and documenting the out-of-body realm. This included the dimensions and other states of consciousness we experience. He and his team developed a technology known as hemisync, hemispheric synchronization. These are tones and frequencies played through headphones which make us phase in consciousness by helping to influence an out-of-body experience. He popularized the term out-of-body experience. It was commonly known as astral projection, but this had an occult connotation. He wanted to make it as scientific as possible. Robert Monroe opened the Monroe Institute. This is where people can go who want to have an out-of-body experience. It's like a retreat where guests use hemisync to explore the other dimensions of the universe. Before describing his work with the CIA, firstly we'll take a look at how he mapped out consciousness to get a better understanding. Before understanding the focus levels of consciousness which Robert Monroe wrote about, we must first understand consciousness. Consciousness is intelligent, energetic waveforms of awareness. It's the energy source which animates the physical body. We are consciousness having a human experience. We're able to phase our consciousness out of the body, such as the process we call sleep. By using hemisync, Robert Monroe mapped out the different locations, calling them focus levels. Focus 1 is the state of consciousness you're experiencing right now. It's the level of being awake. Bell Laboratories, through experimentation, figured out the third dimension functions on a wavelength of 7.23 centimeters. What this shows us is our dimension functions on, or what is located within, the 9th octave of our harmonic universe. This means the third dimension has simultaneous existences of third octaves above us which exist on shorter wavelengths. It sounds incomprehensible, but we also exist within these octaves. However, for our experience, we are in the 7.23 centimeter wavelength, which is located in the 9th octave of our third dimensional universe. This means the timeline is created with good and bad events that resonate with this wavelength. As described, there are many different dimensions above and below. However, they exist simultaneously, so are not really above and below, it's just a perception. For example, if you were to jump in an octave to the 10th octave of the third dimension, which is a less dense place, the wavelength would function at 3.61 centimeters. So the 7.23 centimeter wavelength which we're currently existing in is focus 1, the focus level of being awake in our timeline of existence, what you're experiencing currently. Focus 10 is the focus level of mind awake, body asleep. At this focus level, the phenomenon known as sleep paralysis occurs. If anyone has experienced this, it's when your mind becomes awake and alert before your body does. Your body feels paralyzed and you start to feel as if someone is pressing down on your chest. This feeling is actually the threshold of your consciousness about to leave your body and advance to the next focus level. However, most people panic. We panic because during this focus level, as our body is still in the mode of sleep, our breathing is very shallow and deep. Because of this, it gives the sensation of us suffocating. Fear then sets in. From this fear, because we are still partially asleep, our fight or flight response hallucinates that a predator is attempting to suffocate us. However, it is only our minds creating it as a survival response as the experience feels uncomfortable. If you can control the fear and not feel the urge to immediately return to focus 1, then from focus 10 you can proceed to the next focus levels. During focus 10 or sleep paralysis, which is simply a phase in consciousness, when the intimidating feeling sets in which feels as if you are being rolled inward toward yourself or as if someone is pressing down on you, this is a threshold of your consciousness about to leave your body. If you get past the fear and allow it to happen, then you will start to have an out-of-body experience. This is where you will enter focus 12. This is the entry point to the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is known as the astral plane. The 4th dimension, also known as the 4th density, is made up of lower, mid, and higher 4th density. Here, like attracts like, and thought becomes action or creation. From focus 12 to focus 28 is the location of the 4th dimension. Focus 15 is known as no time consciousness. Here is what is known as remote viewing takes place. This is the focus level the CIA became most interested in as they wanted to see if they could use remote viewing for spying purposes. Remote viewing is using out-of-body experiences to travel to locations on Earth or elsewhere and gain information. Focus 15 is the same level where lucid dreaming takes place. During a lucid dream, if you're able to dissolve the dream and see the full potential of the focus level, at no time consciousness, you can visit any point in history, past, present, and future. It is reportedly more difficult to visit the future than the past. Most people will have to be highly trained and disciplined in astral projection to be able to achieve it. Focus 21 is the edge of the space-time continuum, also known as Stage 4 Deep Sleep. This is where we enter the deep stage of sleep. If you travel to focus 21 for an out-of-body experience without the act of falling asleep, you will find yourself at other energy systems. Your awareness is expanded to realities and energy systems beyond normal space-time and physical matter. While here, the mind remains fully active and conscious. Sleep paralysis occurs when you phase rapidly from focus 21 to focus 10 while waking up. From here, you phase into focus 22 where you begin to dream. This generally occurs around 90 minutes in Earth time of being at focus 21. There are 4 levels of dreaming. These are environmental, subconscious, higher self, and shared. Environmental dreams are dreams which are caused by environmental factors. For example, if you were sleeping and there was construction taking place outside in focus 1, then you may start to dream of something relating to the sound you're hearing. Another example would be if you went to sleep with a full bladder, then you will have dreams of relieving yourself, which may lead to an accident or waking up to use the bathroom. Subconscious dreams are dreams our mind creates based on our desires and emotions. These are mainly based on the previous day's events and what our mind was on most before going to sleep. Here our subconscious will try to work out problems through imagery. We create either positive or negative subconscious dreams depending on our mind state before falling asleep. Higher self dreams are dreams where we receive information from the higher dimensions, this mainly being the 5th dimension. The higher self dreams also consist of precognitive dreams. This is where you will get information of an event which is about to happen, then later on the dream plays out in real life. Shared dreaming is a rarity which occurs when 2 people who are both at focus 22 begin to share a dream experience together. When we have a dream in which we are flying, this is us becoming aware of the out-of-body experience we are enduring while at focus 22. These are the 4 levels of dreaming which occurs at focus 22. Dreaming is in the only state of consciousness which occurs at focus 22. Focus 22 is the border of life and death, the border of the space-time continuum. This is why the term sleep is a cousin of death came about. This is as the focus levels are adjoining. Once you die physically, you stay beyond focus 22 and go into the other focus levels. At focus 22, the white light death tunnel phenomena occurs. Those who have had a near-death experience have seen this. This white light is synaptic activity collapsing within the brain as we detach from the physical plane permanently. It is a transitional stage through the subspaces of the 4th dimension. There are more states of consciousness within focus 22. These are states of consciousness which are co-phased between focus 1 and focus 22. For example, those who are under the influence of drugs or alcohol are co-phased between focus 1 and focus 22. This is why drugs and alcohol can cause the effects of being semi-conscious and so on. While under the influence, you are co-phased between the 3rd and 4th dimension. This is why people begin to have hallucinations or extrasensory perception while under the influence of certain narcotics. Drug addicts and alcoholics who become under the influence every day are constantly co-phased between focus 1 and focus 22. People who suffer from dementia are also co-phased between focus 1 and focus 22. This is why they experience symptoms such as hallucinations. By using HemiSync, tests were done which alleviated the symptoms of dementia by making the patient bring their attention back to focus 1, becoming more coherent. Patients who are under anesthetics and are comatose or who are being revived in the physical remain at focus 22. People here will remain at the dream levels until they return to focus 1. So you can see at the focus levels there are many subspaces within one level. This is because the focus levels are various locations within the dimensions. The dimensions are made up of minor and major overtones within each dimension. Focus 23 is a place immediately after death. This level is made up of those who have recently left physical existence. They're either not aware of this or not able to become free from their previous ties on Earth and not being able to adapt to the transition. After this comes the belief system territories. The places we know as heaven, hell and purgatory are located in the mid-4th dimension. So people who only know of the belief systems and not of the other dimensions get stuck within the belief system territories as they have no knowledge of what's beyond, so are unable to dissolve their astral bodies going into the 5th dimension. Focus 24 is a place of total responsibility for what one is literally creating. It is populated with consciousness of former humans who are stuck in non-moral material-based behavioral patterns which prevent them from realizing crucial aspects about the nature of reality and moving on to upper levels. For example, while alive, if a person was stuck mentally in a cycle, such as if they were trapped in an emotional mind game with themselves such as an addiction, which they were unable to solve before death, it is most likely that they will end up at this focus level after death as they remain bonded to the mental cycle which they were enmeshed in while alive. Focus 24 is the start of what is known as the belief system territories. Focus 25 is a middle area of the belief system territories. This is the expression of the major organized religious beliefs in recent human history. Focus 26 is the last area of the belief system territories. This is where all consciousness who are formerly religious will gather until they become aware of more beyond their self-imposed beliefs. This focus level contains the structures and knowledge of various highly individual religious and other beliefs based on direct experience of self. As you can imagine, the belief systems are created by human thought forms which contain the hell, heaven and every other religious realms from all the religions on earth. The belief system territories are Focus 24, Focus 25 and Focus 26. Focus 27 is the edge of human thought capacity. It's also known as the Park and Summerland. Summerland is a pinnacle of human spiritual achievement in the afterlife. This is as beyond this, you dissolve the astral body and go beyond human thought forms. You are no longer bonded to human thought and surpass into energy systems beyond human comprehension. Focus 28 is an astral bridge zone buffer area. It's beyond space and time and human thought. Here you experience things far beyond human thought. After Focus 28, you go into the 5th dimension. As the experiments mentioned in this video were carried out in the 4th dimension, we will only look at the focus levels just mentioned. Now I've explained the levels of the 3rd and 4th dimension, you can get a better understanding of the experiments which are carried out. The experiments carried out by the CIA took place mainly at Focus 15, but also at the other levels. In 1978, someone from the United States intelligence agencies contacted Robert Monroe. He then began helping out the CIA and the US military. There were many different projects the US military carried out using Robert Monroe's technology. Firstly, they used the Gateway program. This was a program developed by Robert Monroe and his team. This program uses HemiSync to visit the focus levels of the 4th dimension listed earlier. The declassified documents which were released on the CIA website explains the physics behind interdimensional astral projection as engaged by the military. It explains how the universe is in the shape of a torus being created by black and white holes. It also explains how the universe is a holograph made of 12 to 15 dimensions which our consciousness interacts with. It says to enter these intervening dimensions, humans must focus their consciousness with such intense coherency that the frequency of the energy pattern which comprises that consciousness can accelerate to a point of the resultant frequency pattern. In other words, one must focus their attention away from the 7.23 centimeter wavelength for Focus 1 with enough coherency that they begin to phase into the other wavelengths. Densities, also known as dimensions, are the frequency in which light and sound oscillate at. The higher the density, the higher the oscillation. Frequencies are a number of grouped vibrations. Everything is light and sound in a sine wave signature pattern. The combination of both the pattern of oscillation, which is expansion, and vibration, which is contraction, the speed of this is what determines the frequency rate of all energy in things. This determines the physicality of a density or how dense the wavelength of the dimension is, hence why they're called densities. Increasing in the dimensional levels, the wavelength gets shorter and shorter with higher and higher energy, less and less dense. Decreasing in dimensional levels, the wavelength gets longer and longer with lower and lower energy, more and more dense. Our third dimension is made up of 12 minor and 12 major overtones, with our current existence of the 7.23 centimeter wavelength being located on the 9th. The next octave of the third dimensional existence, which exists on an alternate, less dense reality, exists on the 10th with a wavelength of 3.61 centimeters. We are focused into the 7.23 centimeter wavelength of the 9th octave wavelength frequency pattern with intense coherency, giving us our experience of waking life known as Focus 1. In the Gateway Process document, the findings within the different dimensions were not explained. It only gave the backdrop into how they actually entered the other dimensions and described how they operate. A different project described the findings. In 1995, Project Stargate was declassified. This was a secret US Army unit established in 1978. The project used the gateway techniques to explore the other dimensions to see what they could find. For this project, they used the out-of-body techniques to travel to focus level 15, which is no-time consciousness, where you experience remote viewing, being able to witness any event, past, present, and future. In a document titled Mars Exploration, May 22, 1984, a man by the name of Joseph McMoneagle, under the guidance of Robert Monroe, traveled to Focus 15. Robert Monroe gave Joseph McMoneagle coordinates on Mars and told him to observe a time of 1 million years ago. He observed tall, thin, humanoid beings who inhabited Mars about 1 million years ago. He found evidence of giant structures and pyramids on the surface and underneath in caverns. He described machines on the surface and underneath. He said the humanoids were trying to survive, searching for a new home. More visitations were carried out at Focus 15. In November 1986, a remote viewing subject was sent to Saturn's moon Titan and reported seeing a base on Titan's surface. Entering the base, the remote viewer found to her astonishment that all the operators were identical to human beings. She observed 2 young, healthy human males working at a control panel supervised by an attractive female. The time of the observation was not given within the document. These were just some of the findings at Focus 15. We will now take a look at some of the findings at the other focus levels. Fiona Barnett claimed to be an experiment subject of the Gateway process. However, she has never been included in the official declassified documents. She claimed during the astral projection she oscillated between 2 dimensions where she was guided to visit the hellish realms. These hellish realms are located in the lower areas of the 4th dimension. As the 4th dimension is the emotional realm where thought becomes creation, that means a place exists for everyone of their personal heaven, hell, and so on. There will be a personal hell for everyone if they choose to focus there, depending on how they feel after death. Remember, this is only the 4th dimension, the place of human thought forms. So each personal hell is made up of everyone's worst nightmares, or even simpler, people's destructive cycles they are bonded to during waking life. People who choose to focus here after death due to their religious beliefs or by being bonded to a destructive thought form can group together to experience a bonded hell experience where each of their nightmarish fears or patterns will play out. These will be located at Focus 24. In the terms of our 3D perspective, the 4th dimension is located where the Van Allen radiation belt is. Fiona Barnett claims she was guided to visit the hellish realms and was also guided to communicate with 4th dimensional beings. In an interview, Robert Monroe claimed there were various 4th dimensional beings. He claimed the most common ones people came across he called the alligators. He claimed they have an intelligence the same or superior to ours and look like alligators. In UFOlogy, these entities have been called the reptilians. They are believed to be 4th dimensional entities who are malevolent and survive by siphoning off our life force energy from the 3rd dimension. In Robert Monroe's book, Far Journeys, he claimed through an out-of-body experience he travelled to Focus 15 and visited past Earth timelines. While there, he claimed he witnessed these entities seed human life on Earth, creating the current human species solely to create the most louche energy for them to feed off. The entities have been termed as the collectors. Other than these entities, in his book Far Journeys, during the 8th chapter, he described in the lower parts of the 4th dimension, but not within the belief system territories, he came across the terror of demons, or demon-like beings that were trying to attack his astral body. Mr. Courtney M. Brown, PhD, was trained by Ed Dames, a former remote viewer for the US military intelligence who underwent the CIA's remote viewing program introduced by Robert Monroe. From what he learned, he taught Courtney how to remote view with the out-of-body techniques. Courtney Brown, during an out-of-body experience, claims to have travelled to the first lower overtones of the 4th dimension. As the wavelength gets shorter and shorter, this wavelength is estimated to be between -7.24 and -10.86, these being the first and second lower overtones of the 4th dimension. Here is where the dimensional beings such as the Greys and the Reptilians are believed to exist. Courtney Brown, using the CIA's techniques, claimed to have tracked down the source of the hive mind of the Greys. The Grey aliens are believed to operate on a hive mind consciousness, meaning one viewpoint is of all viewpoints. In chapter 19 of a book called The Dulce Book, he describes what he came across. He was specifically instructed to search out the ultimate command or control center of the collective. With guidance of his trainer Ed Dames, Courtney Brown went into the out-of-body state and was instructed to find the source of the Grey's hive mind. Courtney found himself in the first lower overtones of the fourth dimension where he found many Grey beings. He followed the collective mind or thought flow and found it to be absolutely massive. He found what he called a scent or a heartbeat of the massive collective thought flow. He claimed there was a steady stream of information flowing from it being passed to all the other Greys. He noticed at one point an unusual subspace interdimensional being seemed to be directing the activities of the Greys he was observing. He said he discovered that the bodies of the Greys themselves were incarnated by such subspace beings which apparently entered the Greys' embryonic bodies and then used them as vessels to manipulate physical reality. Courtney Brown was then instructed to locate other beings who apparently controlled the Grey Collective from a subspace dimension or astral level. He found himself in an area where several of these subspace or paraphysical entities were located. As he continued towards this center, the number of subspace or non-corporeal beings increased until he came to a place of much activity. There was a large number of entities in this area. He came to what he sensed was the central governing center of the subspace being's activity, and in the center of this was another area where he counted a council of 10 very high-level subspace or paraphysical entities congregated. These were apparently the governing principalities who were engaged in running the whole operation. This was where the information was coming from which was in control of the Grey Hive Mind Collective. Courtney then came across what he perceived as the supreme leader of the Council of 10. At this point, Courtney came back to in his body. He described to his trainer that the leader was a being which he perceived as being full of darkness. So these were some of the other experiences subjects had within the fourth dimension using the CIA's techniques of astral projection taught to them by Robert Monroe. These were not included in the declassified files but were written in books. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Also, be sure to go check out my Patreon in the comment section and the description below where you can get uncut videos. And with that being said, once again, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.